District breakdown time. We have moved to 4-6A. That's my guy Diggsy over there. This is the Wizard. We're talking the South Lake District, and they've added some special squads
Why
in
is it
there.
not the Trinity District, Ward?
That's what I'm saying.
Why
They've
is it
added
not the
some
Byron
special.
Nelson District? They are the defending
They
district champions, Ward. What's
they.
wrong with you?
Hey, I'm going by your rankings. You had South Lake up there. What, number 3 or
Nobody
4?
listens to my rankings, Ward. What are you doing?
Everybody does. So, one group had a whole podcast talking about your rankings specifically, so I know they listened to it somewhere. But anyway, as you were saying, Trinity's back in there, and something that I overlook because you see Northwest in here so much, but just the Northwest is pumping back up to 6A. They haven't been in there since they lost that tiebreaker to Keller for a playoff spot several years ago. Talk about this district because there's 2, if not 3, if you're talking about Trinity teams that really could go 3-4 rounds deep in the postseason.
I think there are two different conversations that we're going to have here, Ward, and I wish we could have a 4-6A tier 1 conversation and a 4-6A tier 2 campfire, but the advertisers won't allow it. They say, Diggs, just cut it down and make it happen. But you talk about South Lake Carroll, and even though they did not win the district last year, they did win the rematch, and they've got 3,400 returning rushing yards coming back. You talk about a two-headed monster with Riley Wormley and Davis Penn, both college. Have college commitments already, and they got them both coming in. So really the question is going to be who's going to be the quarterback for South Lake Carroll. And in 7-on-7, a lot of people are excited about Angelo Renda. He's kind of the next big thing. He's next up, and he is performing great. And he's got a very talented wide receiver in Brock Boyd to throw it to. I mean, it's like we're talking about all of the players who are the frontline players who are going to accumulate yardage are D1 guys. And you got Jack Van Dorselier at tight end. So you got 5 potential D1 recruits who are your skill players. And that offensive line for South Lake Carroll has consistently been good. So the big question is going to be for South Lake Carroll, can they stop anybody? And their defense with Riley Dodge has consistently gotten better throughout the year. And you kind of see that just in the way that they played Byron Nelson the first time and the way they played Byron Nelson the second time. Austin Davidge and Bo Fleming are 2 very big, talented defensive linemen they've got coming back. For me, the question of South Lake Carroll is going to be that secondary. Can that secondary compete against some of the really good wide receivers that they're going to see not only in this district, but when they start getting into that playoff run? So that's going to be, can South Lake Carroll's defense get better? Ward, I think a big debate that you and I are going to have and me and the state are going to have is why is Byron Nelson so highly ranked? And you see that almost everywhere. Byron Nelson is incredibly highly ranked because they have had 2 years of just huge graduations. But last year, Ward, I remember 3 years ago when we were doing that, we started talking about the receivers on receivers and started talking about that team. We thought last year was going to be, well, there's no way that they can get better. But they took a step forward. They beat South Lake Carroll. They won the district. So for me, that talks about the program. That talks about how good that program has got. So they have earned the right to say, okay, even though we don't know every single player they've got coming back, the culture has given us the idea that they're going to be better. And Grant Bizjack kind of played a little bit for last year for Von Grote in a little bit of cleanup duty. So he's got some experience at quarterback. And they got both their running backs coming back. They got Tucker James and Emmanuel Malumba coming back. They've got 2 really talented wide receivers in Leo Almanza and Ezra Malamura. So their offense is going to be pretty good. Now the question goes back to the defense. We've kind of gone back and forth with Byron Nelson. Their offense was good 2 years ago. Their defense was good last year. And now their offense is going to be good again. So I'm really excited about Byron Nelson. I think they're going to be a better team. They're going to continue to stay up there in the top tier. But Ward, I know you're high on Euless Trinity.
Yeah, I want to talk about Trinity because we talk all day about their offensive line. We've been doing that for years and years, but the speed they have in that backfield, and now they have that playmaking quarterback as well with Ethan Wright. When they throw him in there, you don't know if he's going to take off or throw it. They have a receiver now they can toss it to that they got in from Lamar. It seems like they're all the pieces. And I talked to Aaron Lineweaver earlier this week. He usually doesn't even take my call. He's pretty excited about the squad, and he wants to know where they're ranked, what's going on. So I think he knows something's going on with this team. I think we both think they're going to be good, but how good?
And one thing, and this is why he doesn't take my phone calls at all, is I've criticized the coaching over there a couple of times. Is this coaching going to get them where they were? Obviously, we know that Daddy Lineweaver could take it, a really good team and make them great. We're still trying to figure out what Trinity is going to be in this next tier, in the new systems of the post Daddy Lineweaver era. But I'm looking at what they've got coming back, and it's like, how are they going to feed all of these monsters? You've got Josh Bell coming back, who was probably one of the best statistical players of the area last year. You've got Ethan Wright coming back. You've got TJ Tupou coming back. You got, like you said, John Meredith, a transfer coming in who can do just about anything. He's going to be our Swiss Army knife over there. And the offensive line is what it is. It's always going to be good. It's always going to be dominant. And I see a couple of pieces on the defensive side, led by Gordon Moatoa, and I think that they're going to be right there. I think they're still a bit below Byron Nelson, but again, that they're still a top 15 team in the area with a lot of potential to go higher.
Absolutely. And the funny thing about this district is we've gone through three, but every time we talk 4-6A, we always have at least one or maybe even two Keller ISD teams penciled in because there's so many in this. Now the district is widened out to 9 teams, and you got Justin Northwest coming up, and you got LD Bell, who actually ended the season on a win for the first time in 20-something years. Talk about, can Keller get shut out, or do you still have a Keller team in as that fourth team?
I've got Keller high at that number 4 team right now, and Justin Northwest is going to feel very disrespected by that. But Justin Northwest graduated a lot last year, so they've got some questions for me. But for Keller, they got Beckham Robinson coming back. He threw for 2,000 yards last year. Kyle Owens is back at running back. He had 3 touchdowns and 600 yards. They do lose a lot of really good wide receivers, Ward. We talked about those wide receivers at Keller repeatedly last year on our podcast, but Will Adams is going to be back there. But I really like Beckham Robinson, and I think with him as a leader, I think he's that piece that Northwest doesn't have that gives them a slight bit of an edge. But remember, Ward, last year, the team that came out of nowhere was Keller Timber Creek. Yeah. And they're not going to have Dozie in there, but Carson Porter, he's back there. He threw for 1,700 yards last year. They got a Darian Nettles, their running back, coming back, and they've got 3 good wide receivers. They don't got Dozie Izukama. I can't even say his name. Dozie, our guy, he's saying goodbye, but Cameron Hunter, Adrian Corley, and Caleb Menji are all 3 wide receivers who accumulated 800 yards last year. So Timber Creek is right there in that conversation as well. And last year, our team that we gave a lot of business to, even though we ranked them early, is Northwest Eaton. So we've got 2 Northwest ISD teams, and we've got 2 Keller teams who are really good teams that I think would make the play. All 4 of these teams, I think, would make the playoffs in 3-6A. But in this district, they're fighting for the 4th spot. So those are teams that I think are all going to be battling. And then we're talking about LD Bell, who had their win of the year, the win of their career last year, beating this Euless Trinity that we're talking about. But they graduated everybody. I'm looking for players to talk about graduated. They got Del Vecchio Ellis coming back. They've got Jaden Ayala at the offensive line, but they've got no yardage coming back. They've got no quarterback coming back. They've got no wide receiver or running back coming back. So I think their strength is going to be their offensive line, but can they develop a couple of skill players who can put some yardage on the ground? Yardage in the air, yardage on the ground. That's going to be LD Bell's question. And without that, I can't put them in this playoff discussion right now.
Man, and we still got to talk about Keller Central, but I'm interested because we talked about it last week. Your tiers, where are we at tiers? Is Southlake, Byron, and Trinity all in the same tier, and then where do we go from there?
I got Carroll in kind of tier 1, Byron Nelson and Trinity in tier 2. Then Justin Northwest, Keller Timber Creek, Northwest Eden, and LD Bell are all that kind of that 3rd tier, who are all teams that could be ranked at some point in the season if they can develop. But I do think Keller Central is probably the odd team out.
All right, well, hit me with 1 through 9, and we'll put a bow on this district.
Play the music, Ward. I got Southlake Carroll number 1, Byron Nelson number 2, Euless Trinity number 3, Keller number 4, Justin Northwest number 5, Keller Timber Creek number 6, Northwest Eaton number 7, LD Bell number 8, and Keller Central number 9.